watching it and I'm not in love with the story or the characters, so the idea that they're going to be burned alive is like kind of appealing, you know.
This movie is just terrible.
Didn't reach or surpass the original in my eyes. Hey movie fans, welcome back to another episode of Real Reactions. You've got me, you've got Andy, you've got Jeremy. Today's episode we're going to be talking about the new movie, or remake I should say, White Man Can't Jump.
Get 500,000. I just need somebody who can play so I can make some money.
You joking, right?
500,000 for one day of hoop. Yeah.
Initial reactions, I would say they took an interesting direction with, I guess, how loose they were with the cursing, the shit talking on the court. That was in the original, but it's obviously a lot more elevated in this movie. From an overall acting standpoint, my reaction was obviously it doesn't hit the mark. Jack Harlow is not Woody Harrelson. The girlfriend character, she doesn't have that enthusiasm or that intensity that she had in the original. Didn't reach or surpass the original in my eyes.
Initial thoughts, it sucked. It was terrible. I mean, come on, the original is like Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson. I mean, these guys are legend. And now we have, you know, a pop star. And they, you know, he probably has a lot of followers on Instagram. So they said, okay, this guy's gonna be able to bring a lot of people to the box office. And it was like, you know, he tried, and, you know, for a singer doing acting, I guess, yeah, he was like getting by, but really not the acting chops from the first movie at all.
I mean,
the whole story was kind of flat, and, you know, I'll never watch it again, that's for sure.
That was the one movie I'm like, never would have thought, White Men Can't Jump, that needs to be remade.
Yeah.
It did not cross my mind when I heard it was coming out. When I watched it, I was like, this movie is just terrible. The acting was terrible. The editing was terrible. The story was terrible. Like, you already knew what was going to happen, and there was nothing different about it. There was no stakes.
The original is a classic just because of I think the characters and the actors that were in it. Mm-hmm. This one will most likely never be able to be that because of the fact that none of those people are going to be on that level, right? Like, you don't have the next Wesley Snipes in this movie, and you don't have the next Woody Harrelson, and that's what people remember about White Man. I'll be fair. I thought the music was really well done in this movie.
That was great. Great music choice.
They had some good jokes to kind of try to carry in scenes that have a lull, but the jokes are mostly, the ones that hit anyway, are from the side characters, in my opinion, not even the main guys.
The soundtrack is going to to be amazing for this film.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love how they blended like that 90s hip hop rap with more like modern.
Yeah. That would
which was to expect, because the director's background is music videos.
Right. He's got,
like, that's what he did.
Yeah, he's got, you know, Tiana Taylor, who's done some music videos as one girlfriend. He's got Jack Harlow, who's obviously done a bunch of music videos, right? So that they're kind of built for stuff like that, where they can just walk onto a scene and they're told what to do and not have to really like bust out any acting chops, right? Like, don't think there's going to be a scene, even if he has, you know, movies in the future where Jack Harlow's crying and you're feeling that reaction like it would be with
I don't know if there's
going
to be any movies with Jack Harlow in the future.
I think he could be a side character.
A side character. But he's not like going to be a leading role in any.
He's too chill.
He's got to be like that side character of the side character. Because like, if he has more than 5 minutes, he'll just ruin a movie, ruin a TV show, whatever he's in. He just has that punchable face. Like, this whole movie.
It's very punchable.
There were times.
His crappy acting.
His shit talking led to people wanting to punch him in the face.
And I'm like, you're just bad. Like, just get away from my screen. And the movie would have been 10 times better.
Yeah, I think he tries to have like the Woody Harrelson charm when he's on the court shit talking people and getting them to, you know, he basically says it's like he's psyching them out with the mind games.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same feel. It could be, you know, he obviously hasn't done this that much, right? He's
not an intimidating looking person. Woody Harrelson is,
And I mean,
if when he wants to be, right?
Right, like, and in the movie, I think the original, like Woody Harrelson, just has more of like an edgier look to him.
He does,
like,
yeah.
And I mean, a lot
like
of
he's been through some shit.
Well, yeah.
Whereas Jack Harlow's like, you've been rich since like what, 12? Like,
well, I mean, he went to Gonzaga. He inherited a house. Like his character has had a lot of like good opportunities in life.
His character's just lazy.
Yeah.
Super lazy, yeah,
Like,
which
yeah.
I guess is in touch with today's society.
Yeah, I
instant
mean,
gratification.
who hasn't been lazy in their life? But
I'm right there with them, but
or like in denial at some point about living your hooping dream, right?
But
like,
yeah, but it's like the performance is flat. It's like, I'm lazy and I'm really hoping for things to happen for me because, you know, I'm a person. And it's
right.
Like,
He was like so monotone. It was like, yeah,
so monotone.
So happy
He's like
for
too
you.
chill. It's like, I get it, you're cool, but let's entertain people.
Right.
You're leading a movie right now. You know, so.
And I think that's why the original also is going to be better, is because their dream is to just like make it in street ball, right? Like they want to make money playing street basketball. That's realistic, right? This whole movie was, I have aspirations of going to the league, whether it was the G League for Jack Harlow or, you know, the other character was supposed to be a first rounder, go straight to the NBA if he didn't punch that student in high school, which probably would have been overlooked, honestly, if he was that good and he's the best player, right?
Could be.
But, you know, like in that street ball movie, it's like, yeah, like they're hustling to make ends meet. Like the stakes are high. Rosie Perez's character is like, if you keep doing this and lying about it or hustling away our money or just hustling in general, I'm leaving. And at the end of that movie, she does. She follows through and she leaves. And Woody was like, yeah, like I lost my girl to
and like
continue
even in the
chasing
original
my street hoop stream.
And even in the original, like Woody Harrelson had people going after him, like gambling debts, all this.
Yeah.
And like you kind of think that's where this remake's going with, you know, Jack Harlow's character, because like he's, you know, going to this really cheap gym, which he still can't afford.
The story, like the rewriting of it, is flat too.
Oh,
you
totally.
know, just the entire script, it's like, he's not doing well, now he's doing really well, and now he's doing more well. You know, it's like there's never like really a lot of like twists or things like that. It's
that's
like
why
everything's expected, not just because it's a remake, but because it's just like, it's not even formulaic, it's just flat.
Well, it's almost like they forgot to add the stakes, and at the end they're like, oh, we have to throw in a bad guy, let's make it the guy that had the flamethrower at that one basketball court. That in the original he goes to grab a gun and obviously everyone has to scatter. In this movie they're like, let's go over the top, let's give him a flamethrower and then bring him back at the end to be the bad guy.
But even like the stakes in this movie, it was like, I need this to get like my own salon, or I need this. I don't even know what Jack Harlow's motivation was, because like, what was he gonna do? I can understand the character Kamal's point of view is like, all right, I need to get out of this one bedroom apartment where my wife or girlfriend is using as a studio. I need to overcome my inner demons. That I was somewhat vested in, but like the Jack Harlow story, I was just like,
and he's the main guy.
Yeah, no, you did not care about these characters at all. You did, you know, it was that kind of film, and they wanted it to obviously be a comedy because they're trying really hard to make jokes the whole time, and it's not funny.
Well, nothing was. I mean, I thought the side characters were carrying all of the comedy, right? Like, Kamal and Jack Harlow's chemistry compared to them is like nothing. Like, that actually can lead into the side characters, because I was like, those guys. Speedy, which is Vince Staples, another rapper, West Coast rapper. I like North for any rap heads out there.
The little duo there. They were funny. They reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean, the two guys. And they just started being in every movie because they were so funny. Like, it just,
that might be them, honestly.
But like, these guys had like the witty comebacks, the sarcasm. I was like, these guys, they understood the assignment.
Right, from start to finish, they're cracking jokes on each other and making every scene that could be really boring more enjoyable, just because they're chilling in the bleachers. Like, they weren't even playing in all of the games where they're cracking jokes.
I ain't drinking no boo-boo juice.
Wait, it's almost the first.
I'm gonna go tomorrow, I forgot.
Why don't you just go now?
It'll be fine. Hey, don't worry, mommy.
Don't worry, mommy.
You gonna wear that trash bag?
You gonna wear that fake-ass Richard Simmons outfit?
It opens with him making fun of Speedy for, you know, being into bigger girls, his girl Mildred, and, you know, by the end of the movie, he's still with her, and like, that was a full circle story that the writers really wanted to keep you invested in that. You know, cracking jokes at the barbecue and at the parties, like, those guys made the movie funny. Without them, the movie has no
even
comedy.
at the hospital scene, like, one of them is just eating hospital jello, and you're like, this shouldn't be funny, but it's just like, because they're doing it, it's just
they're
funny.
There. Yeah.
Do you have a sports perspective of how this movie was in terms of like?
It's like barely a sports movie though.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's what it's about, right? The whole basketball thing, right? If it's gonna be about it, it's obviously not comedy. It's not drama. It's just
how
sports,
it differs is like the first one, they make it more like hoop dreams, right? And in this, well, street hoop dreams, I should say. In this, it's like overcoming your own personal issues, right? Like Kamal, like, can't hold down a job. He's just like angry that he missed a shot all these years, and he doesn't feel like working for the postal service or wherever he was working, the delivery service, right? But like, if he just wasn't angry and kept his job, he definitely could have paid the bills and figured out a way to advance his life with his girl without needing to play basketball, right? So like, Jack Harlow inherited a house from his parents. If he would have just not been in denial about going to the G League with 2 broken ACLs or torn ACLs, like, he could have had a job.
Right.
Like, he's definitely someone who's intelligent. He went to Gonzaga. It's not like he went straight to the league and messed up.
He could have just
right?
done the thing he did at the end of the movie, like mentor players.
Right, like,
yeah.
he was
is that what he ended up doing?
With his Zen Buddhism, like, he's like always like this.
Right.
His
yeah,
anger
you should have been
management.
doing that from the beginning, right?
Yeah,
Even when he does this on the court, I'm like, you just look like you want to get punched in the face.
Right, he does.
Yeah, like, he was trying to hustle to basically be able to pay off his drug debts to keep his legs from just crumbling when he was playing basketball.
Gen Z references, like, they always kept quoting, like, what are you, James Harden? What are you, like, these basketball players, like, blatantly in your face? You know, they're like, who's this influencer, like, walking around? It's like, you got any Venmo? You got Zelle? Like, it was just all in your face.
Right there.
And like, another thing that I saw, like, after, like, because with the original is like, it dealt with like that, you know, the racism, like, you know, black versus white.
Yeah.
You know, the whole title, white men can't jump, and like, you know, even in the new movie, they play on it, where at the end where Jack Harlow does dunk, it's like everyone thinks it's a big deal, but then you got the side characters like,
Y'all act like white men can't dunk.
but like the way they do in the original, it's like the subtle, like, back and forth.
It's
but like
much
in
more
this
nuanced.
it's like in your face. Like the trash talk gets racist. They start off bickering, like, oh, don't you like this person? Don't you like this artist?
Yeah, it's much more nuanced than the original. The build up to that scene obviously was huge in the original. That's the whole point of it. White man can't jump. Like, he misses the dunk earlier on, and at the end of the movie, Woody Harrelson is able to leap up and dunk and win the basketball tournament.
Right.
In this movie, they don't really care about that. And when he dunks it, it wasn't even a big deal. Like,
It wasn't even the winning shot.
It wasn't. Like, he gets hurt after that, and they keep playing without him. And now you actually liked when he wasn't there. You're like, all right, now
Jack Harlow's
it's more
not
intense.
in the movie, it made the movie better.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite scene or a favorite quote?
I'm gonna say my favorite scene, the flamethrower. So it just comes onto the court and starts spraying a flamethrower all over the place. It was the most exciting thing of the whole movie. I mean, because the whole time I'm just watching it and I'm not in love with the story or the characters. So the idea that they're gonna be burned alive is like kind of appealing, you know?
That woke you up a little bit.
It did.
I mean, I guess because I was comparing so much to the original, when he pulled out the flamethrower, I was kind of like, meh. Like, I knew that they were going for that over-the-top reaction to try to have you relive that. Because they had some good callbacks, I thought, with the money in the sock scene, the walking down the steps scene. So some of that chase scene ends with him jumping in the car in the original, and that's how they get away in this one as well. So I liked some of those callbacks. As far as favorite scene overall, I thought the heart-to-heart in the hospital, Lance Reddick does his best to carry what can easily be written off as poor writing overall, but just the dialogue there, I thought, like, okay, this is this is more powerful than anything I've seen so far, and it's just because he's a good actor and is doing his best to carry through.
I agree. Lance Reddick was incredible as always. I don't know how he did it, but through obstacles of that script and his, co-stars there. I mean,
but that's what you get when you have like a professional actor.
Right.
He can make
step on the scene of this.
Like he
set
can
of
make
whatever
even like the worst
glorified
generic
music
basic
video.
dialogue and just like give it some life.
Yeah, like if
a lot of life. I mean, his intensity is right there, and you can feel everything.
He
Like
was probably in that movie for a total of 5 minutes.
right,
yeah.
right, and it was the most impactful. Like you can still remember the scenes with Lance Reddick because he was really into it. He really had an impact there.
Absolutely.
Second Hustle, they get like the most random people. It was like a Chick-fil-A worker, and like I guess like a blind guy, and like he just like. He was like, he knew they were hustling. He was like, we all know you're hustling. Like, look who you're playing with.
Right.
And then like he shoots and he drains it and then he just like walks like this. So I got like a good chuckle after that. And then when I guess they're playing by the beach and one of their teammates is a guy wearing a bicycle outfit. Like helmet, bike sneakers, that weird bike. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, who in their right mind would be like, I want to pick you and not instantly think, what's going on here? Someone must be hustling me. Like, why is this random guy in complete bike gear playing a pickup basketball game?
I did think that was funny.
Those weren't even good scenes, but like the whole movie was just so bad where they're just
That
like,
was
this
the
is
best.
so...
That was just like personal nostalgia for anyone that's played a pickup game and had to play with a bad player that somehow pulled off a great shot that you remember.
I was that bad player.
I was like, they had to make sure like he was still wearing the bike helmet so you understood like this is not a basketball player, which like...
Right.
Even if he
Someone
took
with
his helmet
common
off,
sense
like, you would've
taken it
known.
off. Yeah. What about cringiest scenes or?
The whole movie is the whole thing. It's just terrible. I mean, it really cringe. Oh, how about this? I think you guys have already mentioned it, but I'm gonna steal this one where he shows up to the barbecue with the Hennessy. I think that's your one.
That was so bad.
I mean, that stuck with me too, where it was like, it's just like...
I'm like, I know you're trying to be funny,
It's
but...
not uncomfortable, awkward comedy. It's like Seinfeld or something. It's like, it's just wrong. It's just like not cool.
A purposeful,
It's like,
on purpose cringy moment.
It was like,
just so
you're
cringy.
trying to be funny.
Yeah,
it's like,
like,
oh, look at the white guy bringing Hennessy to the black barbecue.
Right.
And you're like, that was not funny.
Right, like everyone rolls their eyes when he gives it to him.
Not good.
And I was like, I felt their pain. I was like, oh, this like classic. Like, obviously you would bring that.
And then
you're trying to fit in.
luckily Lance Reddick is like, I'll have a shot with you, right? Like he's able to make that connection. But anyone else at that party would have been like, get this white dude out of here. Like, he should have just brought one of his other drinks that he likes to have anyway. He was trying to sling those the whole
Well,
movie.
it's a way they made a big deal. In fact, I bet in real life, if you brought it, you're just like, hey, what's up? Brought a bottle. Here you go. Put it on the table. They don't make a big deal out of it.
Right. He's like showing it off. Like,
the way they
check
like
it out.
captured this moment, it's like, oh, white guy brings Hennessy. It was like,
He's like, I'm officially a member now.
Right.
Yeah. It was just not well
Put it on the
done.
table. Brought it with something else, right?
Another cringeworthy scene was at the end where like Jack Harlow's character just shows up blasting Ed Sheeran.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
That was the call back to their connection earlier, though. So I was like, I give the writer some credit.
but then they start talking and
making
like
that
the
make
music
sense.
is
Good choice
still
of
just
music.
as blasting.
He should have lowered the
Great
music
artist.
when he came over. Like you got the attention, right? You already established that it's full circle. But yeah, that was when it was like, all right,
It's
dude,
like,
lower the music.
I mean, just anything with Jack Harlow was cringeworthy.
The scene where he shows up drunk is definitely, I think, the most cringeworthy because it's like,
Oh yeah.
you get it.
No,
You get
definitely.
like
What, in the
he's
court,
he's in a bad place and for some reason decides to get hammered and go to a public gym, right? Like he couldn't go to a bar, he couldn't.
He
stay
couldn't even
home.
play drunk right. I'm like, you're like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, like in that moment, obviously he got escorted out, but like it would have led to someone actually beating him up there. Like,
Right.
He was just being.
That was just bad.
He was being annoying.
He was being an asshole to the old lady.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did this old lady do now?
I know. At that point, like you have no attachment to the main character if you did before that, and you're like, all right, let the guy fail. You know, it's like he deserves it at this point. Like, I hope this movie ends with him, you know, like failing completely.
And then he has like a weird like nemesis competition with some like random other famous
the other
college player, the other white guy.
That's a coach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not well established, at least for me, who it is. Maybe it's a guy who's really doing something out there. I don't know, like actually on a team or something.
It kind of goes back to what I was saying before. I feel like they forgot to add stakes, and they were like, actually, let's make the coach like his nemesis or something. Let's make the guy that brought the flamethrower still mad after he escapes and follow them to the tournament, right? Like, what is he? Like, his team lost, so it's not like he was mad that like he was owed money. He was just mad that they like disrespected him on his court.
He wasn't even playing. He just showed up.
Most surreal scene, like, definitely could have been any of the ones that we named in the cringy scenes, but surreal, well, I thought just the whole engagement scene, I feel like shouldn't have happened, and maybe I'm just like a sucker for liking the old one where the stakes are elevated because Rosie puts Woody Harrelson on the spot, and she's like, if you do this again, like, I'm gone, and he still chooses to play basketball and risk it, and she actually leaves. So like, there's true consequences there. In this movie, Jack Harlow's girl, who's basically the breadwinner of their relationship, since he's like, he's so broke that he needs to leave a pickup game to go get free parking outside. Like, that's how poor he literally is. And he's sneaking into this gym to try to make money. Like, she gets a job with SZA, like, not some like no-name pop star that they made up, like someone that actually anyone that's watched the movie and looks up is like, oh, that's a very famous person. And he's like, oh yeah, cool, whatever, and totally blows her off to continue living in this fantasy world that he's gonna go to the G League and get stem cell research to fix his ACLs. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And then the scene where he gets caught, she's like, you lied to me, I'm done, and like a day or two passes and he's like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. He proposes and it's all good again. Like,
2 days
how? Yeah, like the tournament wasn't that far between their fight where like she would have just flipped back. Like,
and
she
like they wouldn't have gotten that money that quickly. Like, it's a fake check. They would just be like, we'll send you the money.
They would have got it delayed. It definitely would have been heavily taxed. And he owed, or we don't know how much he owed, but with this infinite tab that he had at the gym with the front desk and the drug dealer in the locker room, like, how much did he actually get to keep?
Just too many financial loopholes.
A lot of loopholes in this movie, a lot of holes, a lot of gripes, and I wouldn't recommend it.
And like another thing that made absolutely no sense.
I wouldn't recommend him making any more movies. He should stick to music. I'm sure he's a great musician, and you know.
It didn't make sense that, like, you know, you have like this well-known prodigy, and like this other college basketball player who is like probably really good to go to Gonzaga and like actually probably start, where Lance Riddick knows who he is. But I'm like, how does nobody else know who this guy is? Like, and I understand, like, all right, you know, if it was like, if they're on like the East Coast, I could see like Gonzaga, college basketball, not that big thing on the East Coast. I'm like, you're on the West Coast. Like, Gonzaga is not that far. Like, Gonzaga probably travels to like, you know, UCLA, USC to play those teams. I'm like, you must know who he is on the West Coast. But then, like, why would you want to play against these people and hustle them? Like,
both of them.
Like he could have went to they both could have went to the NBA.
Yeah, Kamal was getting ESPN interviews in high school about like where he was supposed to go to college. So like any sports fan would have been either recalling that interview and be like, oh yeah, I remember you. Or there's a lot, I mean, not me personally, but there's a lot of college hoop fans that would have been like, yeah, I know who you are. Like, you were at Gonzaga. Like, you're a really great shooter. I'm not going to play a.
And that's where, like, this, I mean, like, that's one of the reasons why this movie lost me, like, initially, which, like, in the beginning, like, the original, they're not They're just regular guys.
Yeah.
And like this movie, they're trying to like really connect with like the young like audience today, where they're like, what happens if we make him like a prodigy? Like interviews, ESPN, and this guy he played college basketball. He may not be as well known, but he still played college basketball. I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You could have one character do that and the other one just be really good at basketball.
Right. The way the movie ends is actually what Kamal could have done in his mid-20s. Instead of, going from job to job and getting kicked out because he doesn't like it, he could have just went overseas and played Euroball. They don't care that he got in a fight in high school. If you can play, you can play.
Right. He would have still went on to do what he was.
He would have saved probably 5 years.
Yeah.
If he just went, he would have made his money.
There would have been some coach that's like...
no movie.
Yeah, there would have been some coach
Which
that's
would have been better than what we watched.
You're right.
Inner demons.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be one of those white man can't jump. He's like, I'm gonna go play overseas. The end.
The end.
Right.
Yeah,
That's it.
we can watch the coach work with him overseas, and it turns into
Well, they had that Adam Sandler movie.
I was gonna say, it could be that movie was really good. You want to talk about a good basketball movie? That movie was really good.
I liked it, and
there's some
that was
stakes
good.
there,
there were
there's
real stakes. It's
real
like a
effort being
story,
put in to work on the game.
A true story,
Yeah.
or based on a true story at least.
Based on a true story. Well, they used NBA players too, but
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't compare those movies because it's just like
We can't even
really,
compare
really
this movie to the first movie.
Yeah.
Because it's so different. It's
That's
like
the problem.
completely.
Because the things they added just made it worse.
They tarnished
Just
the
like
good
so
name of the
many
first
missed
movie.
opportunities.
The first
You
one's a
have-
classic.
You barely have women presence. Like, you have them, but they don't do anything. Like, they're just there. They don't drive the story. They don't
No, they don't
add
drive the
anything to
Well,
it.
yeah, I'll say again, I think the music was really, really good.
Music.
So I don't want to take away from that, and I think the one-liners that Lorenzo had as a side character to keep the comedic energy throughout the movie was really, really good as well. So I know that I feel like we've gone in like a bash fest here, but there were some at least positives of this.
Originally, when I was watching this movie, I kept changing the rating. I would go 1, 1.5, 0.5, but then at the end, I settled at like a 2.5.
2.5.
You were very generous.
I got generous towards the end. I was like, all right, I know it's a very generic plot line. Two rivals become friends, then they fall out, then they become friends again. But it's like, it was the ending that got me to raise it up. Like, the Lance Riddick emotional scene in the hospital, the ending game, you can feel the tension without Jack Harlow, but then when he came back in, you're like, this guy sucks. But it was kind of like, if I took Jack Harlow out, it would have been a better movie. Yeah, I'm figuratively punching Jack Harlow in the face.
That was a light slap, I'll say, than a punch, because a 2.5, I thought was
2.5.
pretty generous.
Originally, it was a 1.5, but then that ending, I was like, you know what? I like the ending. I'll give it 2.5, 2.5.
Okay. I'll go second. I'm a little closer to your original. I gave it a 1.8. I mean, speaking about the ending, I thought, I was leaning towards being nice as well and maybe touching the 2s, maybe a 2-1 or something, but I was like, no, this, they're trying to make this what's supposed to be a gritty movie into like a Disney movie where it works out for everyone. Yay! Right. He gets in a big fight and gets engaged, and she says yes and takes him back. Yay! Kamal goes overseas after the basketball tournament and wins in his first year in China, and then goes to the G League on a 10-day contract, and then gets called up to the Lakers. Yay! And then next thing you know, you got Jack Harlow working with players like Tyler Hero. There's no stakes, nothing. Like, I would have given it a higher ranking if they lost in the tournament. If Kamal was like, I gotta revamp my lifestyle so I can give my girl her money back to hit the salon, right? Like, if Jack Harlow was like, here, you take my money for the salon and I'm gonna give up the dream, he never really grows up. Like, he just lucks out again, right? Like, he gets a house gifted to him, he never has to pay rent, so he's good there for just being a bum in his 20s, and then he lucks out again. He gets hurt in the game, and the guy that comes in off the bench saves him. Like, Kamal obviously is making the big shots, but still. And that actually reminds me, the split was between 4 guys, so it wasn't 500,000. We're saying he got 250 after taxes, less than that, but he has even less than that. So 1.8. Sorry, not sorry. It would have been probably lower if the music wasn't as good as it was.
Fair enough. Okay. My score? 0! 0! Fucking done. Don't see it. Keep your money. Don't even waste your time putting it on the TV. Don't waste electricity on this movie, folks. It's terrible. Everything sucks. They literally had a great script the first movie. They could have literally done a shot for shot. Would have been happier with that. But no, they had to ruin this great movie in the past. They had no comedic anything on top of it. They didn't add anything to it this time. There's no need for a remake. They wasted a remake. But hey, if you like the movie, hey, get at us in the comments.
Tell us
Bash
where we're wrong.
Tell us why we're wrong. But anyways, like, subscribe. As always, thank you guys for joining. Real reactions. White men can't jump. We'll see you next time.